Hi, everybody. My name is Christine Heiser. I'm with the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services. Thank you so much for joining us today for a shelter resident actor briefing for the Keystone 6 National Mass Care Exercise that's taking place a week from today. So we do have ASL interpretation being provided. Thank you, interpreter. And you can turn on captions within Teams. If you click the three dots at the top of your screen that say More, you can select Language and Speech and turn on live captions if you'd like to utilize that feature. As I said, this meeting is being recorded. The recording and the materials will be available online after the call. And the slides are actually already posted there. If you like to follow along at home, I put the link into the chat, and I'll also email the materials out after, and the link on YouTube after the call concludes. So that's housekeeping. So for this exercise, safety is our #1 concern. And as we are going through conduct of the day, anything that's related to the exercise, we want to accompany that with the phrase, "This is an exercise." That will ensure that no one's causing a panic or thinking that anything's occurring is a real life emergency. So that said, you'll want to use the phrase, "This is a real life emergency," to indicate that an incident that's occurring in real life, such as a medical emergency, a fire, something of that nature, that we know that that's something we need to act on in real time. So keep that in mind to make sure we're using those phrases appropriately. This is an exercise, or this is a real life emergency. As far as the schedule for the day goes, 1 week from today, on Monday, May the 20th, we're asking you all to arrive at 11:30 a.m. So we will conclude the activities next week by 5 p.m. Anybody who is bringing pets with them, on your way into the building, you can drop your pets off with the county animal response team and then go inside to enjoy lunch. I'll talk more about pets later on in the presentation. So lunch will be available for that first 30 minutes for all of you. And then we will have a pre-exercise briefing to make sure everyone knows the procedures for the day and to reinforce some of these key pieces of what we're looking for you guys to kind of incorporate into your actor roles. The live play of the exercise, meaning the actual standing up of the shelter and the operation of the shelter, will take place from 12:30 to about 4:15 p.m. And then after that concludes, we'll have a quick hot wash. That's where we say, here's what went well, here's what didn't go well, and have time to complete evaluations, wrapping up everything again by 5 p.m. So just to give you a little briefing on the exercise scenario. So while we're conducting this exercise in May, in this scenario, it's actually January. So it is a cold weather scenario. The scenario simulates a prolonged outage of natural gas due to an explosion on a pipeline in Ohio. And this outage is expected to last weeks to months. It takes them a really long time. They have to go to each connection and conduct a safety inspection and do a relight and turn everything back on manually. So it's not a real quick, turn it back on once it's been repaired. This outage also is resulting in rolling blackouts or power outages, and it's impacting a large portion of the state. Think about 15 counties or so. So you, in this scenario, have been without power, perhaps heat for several days, and you've evacuated to this shelter from your home. So the purpose of us operating this shelter, conducting this exercise, is to give our staff practice. So this is a mock Commonwealth managed shelter that we're opening at Shippensburg University. And we're going to ask you all to go through the actual shelter registration process, which will allow our staff to get hands-on experience actually operating a shelter and going through the entire process. So we're super grateful to all of you for offering this opportunity to our staff, because otherwise it's all just theoretical, everyone takes training, but to give that chance to get the hands-on practice is really invaluable to test our skills. So thank you all for your willingness to help us with this. Just a couple brief notes on accommodations related to disability needs. So we will be providing accommodations to allow actors to participate in the pre-exercise briefing. We will have an ASL interpreter available on site. If you require a different combination in order to receive that information during that pre-exercise briefing time, that verbal briefing, please let me know as soon as possible. And then during live exercise play, accommodations including translators, personal assistants, or any other items or services that you might require due to a disability or access or functional need will likely not be available. And so this is on purpose to allow shelter staff to practice having only at their disposal items that would normally be available to them at the opening of the shelter, right? The beginning of the disaster. So it's the purpose of doing this is so that, say you are a person who is deaf, who requires ASL interpretation. So when you show up at the shelter, it's highly likely there would not be an ASL interpreter there. But our goal is for our shelter staff to have that experience in talking to you, figuring out how they can accommodate you in the moment without the interpreter, and then identifying this is the accommodation that you need and putting in a resource request to request that interpreter to respond on site. So practically speaking, what that looks like for us at the shelter is that interpreter is likely not going to get there before the exercise is over. But I just want to assure you that that is purposeful to test our staff in identifying what those needs are and then requesting those items, services, other accommodations. So just want to be clear about the expectation there. What to wear and bring with you. Definitely closed-toed shoes are a must. Please dress comfortably and please bring any medications, equipment, or other items that you or anyone in your party, including any children's or pets that are coming along with you, need. So if you need it in order to maintain your health, safety, independence, please bring it along because, like I said, we can't guarantee we'll have any of those specialty items there. What to expect. So I mentioned we're actually going to have you go through the registration process, answering a whole bunch of questions as we would do in a real shelter. So you'll likely have the opportunity to walk through that a couple times. This shelter is simulating 1,000-person shelter, but we're not actually going to have 1,000 actors there. I think we have about 40 people registered at this time. So we'll have you go through a couple of times. And we want you to think and act as an evacuee might. So you might be scared, uncertain, kind of upset at the idea that you've left your home, you're not sure what to expect. Maybe you left in a hurry, so maybe you might be missing some critical items or medical equipment. You can pretend there. Obviously, if you need the medication in real life, bring it with you. But for the purposes of the exercise, you can act as if you forgot it at home to test our shelter staff and their ability to provide a replacement. So we'll give you some acting ideas, or you can always just play yourself and go through, and that's enough to give our staff practice. You don't need to win any Oscars for your acting in this exercise, don't worry. We will ask that you interact with shelter staff throughout the shelter, and we may ask that you portray a survivor that's in need of certain medical care or behavioral health care. Well, we do ask that you don't pretend to have a disability if you're not a person with a disability. For caregivers of children who have registered to bring their children along, we do have Children's Disaster Services. They will be on site providing care for children aged 2 to 10. The parent or guardian caregivers to leave the site. That's really important. Any children who are accompanying their caregivers who are outside that age range. So if you're bringing an older child or an infant with you, you certainly may do that, and that child should just accompany you throughout the exercise. And just to reiterate, please bring any essential items, including medication, baby formula, etc., for your child to make sure that you have those critical items on hand. For any pet owners who registered their pets, and this only applies to folks who have registered to bring their pets. If you've not indicated in advance that you're bringing pets, please leave them at home. The Cumberland County Animal Response Team, or CART, they will be providing care for dogs, cats, and birds that have registered in advance. They'll be set up in the parking lot outside the shelter. So when you arrive, you'll check your pet in with the county animal response team in the parking lot, and then you'll proceed inside, eat lunch, have the briefing, and then at the start of the exercise, you'll go back outside, retrieve your pet, and complete a more detailed pet registration. And then you'll return back inside for the people registration. And just a reminder that service animals are not pets, and those service animals may accompany their handler inside the shelter. Again, please bring any medications, essential items, or special food for your pet, as we can't guarantee we would have those items on site. And if you have vaccination records available, please bring those along too. The exercise location is at Shippensburg University. We're in the Recreation Center, often called fondly Shipwreck. So we'll be in that building, which is located at 533 Lancaster Drive. We are not responsible for transportation, so you do have to provide your own transportation to the site. Here is a campus map, and there's a link in the slides that you can access as well. And you should also have this information in your email registration confirmation. You can reach out to me if you do not have that information in your email. So you can see here on the screen, Shipwreck is building 50 here on this map. You may park in commuter lot 6, which is the one with the red rectangle around it. Most of the directional signage that you'll see on campus on Monday is directing people to the lot across Lancaster Drive, which is the commuter lot 7. You may also park there if you like. It's a much longer walk, but you are welcome to park in lot C7 or lot C6. If you need accessible parking, please go ahead and park in lot C6, as that will be much closer to the Shipwreck building itself. On the day, if you're having any issues finding where you need to be, if you are having trouble finding, say the accessible ramp or accessible parking, or have another logistical need, we have an exercise navigator phone number. You can call or text this number. The number is 717-307-7170. You should also have that information in your registration confirmation email as well. So feel free to save that number into your contacts. Again, that's a call or text for the exercise navigator who can help with those accessibility needs, location questions, etc. If you have any other questions prior to the exercise, you can feel free to reach out to me. So that concludes the briefing that I have. I hope that answered most of your questions. If not, I'm going to open the floor now if anyone has any questions they want to share before the group. The recording is still on, so we'll leave it on for any questions, and then we'll stop it if there's anybody who doesn't want to have their question recorded. So you can feel free to raise your hand. You can just speak up, come off mute. You can put your question in the chat. Now is the perfect time to do that if you need any additional information. Go ahead, Kimber.
Good morning. Hey, when I registered, I did indicate that I could bring my dog with me. Do I need to confirm that anywhere else than I have, or was that sufficient for you to know that he was coming?
You indicated on your registration?
Yes.
Yep, you're good to go.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for checking. Okay. Any other questions?